was traumatic. Who would have thought that the water would have be that deadly, that it could harm a pet, an animal, a family member? You know, these are just the dogs that are getting into it. What about the wildlife that's, you know, ingesting it? I couldn't imagine what they're going through because they don't have the means of treatment.
An algae crisis threatening our treasure coast.
A cycle of despair and disgust amidst promises made and broken.
Billions of gallons of water are rushing from Lake Okeechobee to our coastline.
How much pollution is too much? How much danger is too much? How much before this will stop?
My dog Finn got out of our yard. We have a fenced-in yard, and on Labor Day he escaped, and he was gone for about 20 minutes. The next morning he was kind of acting weird and really slow, and I was taking the boys to school and came back, and I gave him a bath. He was still walking around, he was fine, and then he just went down, and very lethargic, actually paralyzed pretty much. He couldn't move, so I scooped him up. My husband scooped him up, and we immediately took him to the vet, and he was there for about 8 hours, and they gave him tests and ultrasound, blood tests, and they didn't really know what to do, honestly. And then he passed away that night. We took him to the emergency clinic to spend the night, and he passed away at 5:15 in the morning.
About 2.5 weeks ago, my 2 golden retrievers escaped out of our fence, and we live on the North Fork of the St. Lucie River. They were frolicking in the river, playing on the beach, and 6 hours later, they were both very lethargic. Sammy actually fell over and wouldn't move. We took her to the vet. Sammy went into cardiac arrest right away. The vet was able to resuscitate her. We got her to the emergency vet, as well as my other dog, Savvy. And Sammy stayed in the hospital for 10 days. She received 6 plasma transfusions and a host of heart medication, liver, etc. A pathology report from the lab that both of my girls had extraordinarily high levels of microcystine and cyanobacteria in their blood, urine, and vomit samples that were sent to the lab. So I know for a fact that that is what made them sick. I know that I'm scared to live where I live right now. It's just really sad.
One dog that didn't make it, the autopsy report showed that bleeding out was the cause of death, and there were microcystins in every single sample that was tested. Liver, urine, vomit, blood, everything. Finn, we know, died a very violent death. Every word in the autopsy is severe. Severe bleeding here, severe bleeding there, destruction of all the cells. It's very, very aggressive, very, very fast. I think Finn went 12, 16 hours from start to finish.
I don't know what it is. Is it that, you know, it's just dogs, it's just sea life, it's just raccoons, it's not people? It's going to be people, because, I mean, Martin Memorial has seen people come into the ER with issues. So I'm mad about it, and I'm doing everything I can to make it a big priority.
I don't think there's anybody that can deny that health and human safety is important. It doesn't matter what your family structure, what your family makeup is. That's something that we all think about on a daily basis, is the health of our spouses, the health of our parents, the health of our children. When we're talking about the Treasure Coast of Florida and the toxic discharges that come out of Lake Okeechobee through the C-44 into the South Fork and into our community, we're talking about known poisons being sent into our community, poisonous enough to kill fish and manatee and other sea life. And this can be prevented. That's the biggest problem about this, is that these toxic discharges need not come into the Treasure Coast. We need not be the septic tank for that toxic water coming out of the lake. And we can prevent this by better management of Lake Okeechobee.
Well, now to a potential solution to the blue-green algae crisis on the Treasure Coast. Today, President Donald Trump signed a bill that would create a reservoir to send the water south of Lake Okeechobee.
We may have finally found a solution to this ongoing problem. President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed the Water Infrastructure Act.
With this legislation, we will also better protect American communities from hurricanes and storms.
But one project in the bill is perhaps most important to our region, building a reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. The idea would be to send excess water from Lake O to that reservoir rather than discharging it into the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie rivers. Many believe it's those discharges that cause the toxic algae. This was definitely a bipartisan effort. You have Republicans like Representative Brian Mast and Senator Marco Rubio working with a Democrat, Senator Bill Nelson. And locally, Stuart Mayor Kelly Glass-Lighton released a statement giving all the credit to the people of Stuart, saying they worked the hardest to make this bill happen.
I always tell people I am an optimist. I believe that we're going to stop these discharges from occurring. I believe that we're going to get our waters back to looking like Bahama waters, blue, fish, seagrass, the kind of place that makes it a dream home for everybody out there. I'm an optimist. I believe that we're going to get to that point. What it looks like going forward to get to that point is continuing to fight with the Corps of Engineers in the South Florida Water Management District, letting them know that they have to make human health and human safety a priority, that they have to look at lowering the levels of Lake Okeechobee because they can't just keep water on there for everybody else if it means destroying our community. And we should be hopeful on this because we're having those conversations. We're having conversations that were never had before. We're getting the resources put into projects where they never had the resources put into them before. The repair of the dike, the Kissimmee River, the raising of the Tamiami Trail, the Southern Reservoir. These projects are getting approved, they're getting funded, they're getting completed. And this is why we have to be optimistic about what's going on, because we are going to bring this to an end. And that's what I fight for every single day.